Hello and welcome back to No Limit Drag Racing 2.0, and in this video we're going to be talking about a subject that has been a hot topic of conversation lately surrounding No Limit Drag Racing 2.0, and that is the update. Now, here's the thing. There's been a lot revolving around this update lately, and especially, like, if you look in my comments or maybe on, like, Facebook groups and things like that, there's everything from where is the update and when is the update to the update is never coming out and I'm gonna delete this game. And I'm like, what? And that last one really surprises me because I'm like, there's been many updates to this game in the past, just like there's been many updates to Off-Road Outlaws in the past, and whenever I see people saying things like, well, if they don't tell us when the update is coming out, I'm deleting the game, and I'm like, wait, what? They never tell us when the update is coming out exactly. They give us a general window, but I think they don't actually know exactly when the update is going to be finished until it's actually finished, so I feel like that kind of it just gets rid of that argument entirely. Now, I did see some people speculating that the next update for No Limit could come in July, but here's the thing, that is 100% speculation, and again, I've seen people out there saying like, oh, the release date is like so-and-so of July, and I'm like, the developers have not confirmed anything whatsoever. I mean, could it drop in July? Who knows? But I don't know if I would necessarily hold my breath for that just based off of something that you saw somebody out there say. Because we really never know until the developers themselves legitimately say, like, hey, the update is approved, it's coming, it's on its way, and then we'll be like, okay, cool, we have a pretty clear kind of direction as to when the update is going to come out. Now, looking through some of the comments on my previous No Limit video, I saw some really interesting suggestions and, ideas for future updates within the game that I'm actually, really interested in. I think these would be really good ideas for future updates. For example, one from Chase7199 said they need to add front-wheel drive and all-wheel drive cars, also 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, and, different configurations like V6s and inline 6s, so you could have engines like, for example, in terms of inline 6s, you could have, say, the 2JZ or the RB26, and in terms of V6s, you could have, like, the VR38 out of the GTR, and in terms of 4-cylinders, you could have, like, a big turbo Honda. There's a lot of different options once you start to open up the engine sizes and the cylinder counts and things like that. I will say another kind of reoccurring theme that I see show up in suggestions for future No Limit updates is people requesting built diesels in terms of available engines and also just diesel vehicles in general, like drag racing prepped diesel vehicles. I think that it's definitely possible because obviously we have, trucks from Off-Road Outlaws that could supposedly be brought over into No Limit and then kind of tweaked and modified into that drag racing space and drag racing dynamic, because to be fair, we've seen options from No Limit be brought over to Off-Road Outlaws in the form of customization options and wheels and things like that. So I don't see why, with a couple of little adjustments, why they couldn't go back the other way. Now, whether or not they actually do something like that is completely up in the air, of course, but it would be really cool to see, and there's definitely a part of the community that I feel would use fully built diesel trucks for drag racing. And of course, another suggestion that I always see pop up is people wanting more available engine sounds, and I understand why, because, there was actually a couple of comments on my last No Limit video that said, we really need more engine sounds because I'm kind of tired of hearing the same engine sound out of every vehicle, and I get that. I get that from a sort of game enjoyment perspective and a kind of quality of life for the player perspective, but at the same time, I feel like maybe the reason we don't have that, and this is pure speculation, but maybe the reason why we don't have switchable sounds is because sounds may take up a lot of space that they might be sort of allocating to different aspects of the game that they might have to remove if they then added more sounds, or maybe adding more sounds would make the game take up too much space, especially on older devices. I don't know for sure. That's, again, all speculation on my part, but I could totally see that being a high possibility, or rather a fairly high possibility. Now, to briefly move back into kind of some things I see throughout the community, and I see sort of crossover between this dynamic in terms of Off-Road Outlaws and No Limit Drag Racing, and that's where you kind of get, these different camps of people where, some people are like, oh, don't worry, I'm going to be patient, and we're going to see when the update comes out, and when it comes out, I'll enjoy it, it's no big deal. And then you have the people that are more like, this better come out in, insert XYZ timeline here, or I'm getting rid of the game, uninstalling it, and never playing it again. And I'm like, here's the thing. You probably are going to play it again. So I don't really understand where that comes from, and it's certainly not going to make the update come out any faster. I'm sure that the next update is going to come out at some point. Obviously, we never really get timelines for these things, and I know that that can be very frustrating to just kind of have it up in the air, to hear, yes, there's going to be an update, no, we don't know when it's coming out, and I understand that some people really like to have defined timelines, and I think with a lot of AAA games, a lot of, bigger titles, a lot of people are used to timelines because for some bigger games, they won't announce an update or a DLC until they know what the release date is. And so I think a lot of people are used to knowing, hey, here's this update and it's coming out on this day. And that's that, rather than the update is coming, but we don't know when. And there's nothing wrong with the fact that they announced an update without a release date just yet. I just think it's important for people to know that a team working on a game like this is going to be a little bit different than a team working on a game for like Xbox or PlayStation or something like that. This is a very different space, and I think things get created on slightly different timelines, and there's testing, and then there's back and forth, and then there's the need for updates to get approved by both mobile platforms, and there's a lot that goes into it. Although we do know that the next update for No Limit should be coming out before the next update for Off-Road Outlaws, so that's kind of the extent of what we know in terms of timeline. And again, I know that that doesn't really provide a specific timeline in terms of dates, but it does at the very least kind of give us a little bit of insight into what the release schedule may look like. And I would imagine that they're probably working really, really hard right now on trying to get the No Limit update as polished as they can, because once they put that out, I would bet you that it will then be full speed ahead in terms of the Off-Road Outlaws update. And again, I don't know the size of the team that works on these games, but between No Limit and Off-Road Outlaws and now American Marksman as well, I'm sure they got a lot on their plate with these updates. But really, at the end of the day, I think the moral of the story is we're just going to have to be patient and wait and see what happens. And I get that that might be frustrating for some of y'all. I completely understand it's frustrating sometimes for even me as well, having to be patient for not just updates in this game, but I'm not always the most patient person, and I get that. I completely understand. But on the flip side, I'm sure that once the update does release, we're all going to dive into it. We're all going to love it. We're going to be absolutely shredding with the new dragsters, and it's going to be a blast. And speaking of the new dragsters, while I am excited for them and I'm definitely going to give them a try, I am more excited for the future of, vehicles like what we're seeing on screen right now, like the C10, or potential for, more street cars and, additional engines maybe in the future. Again, speculation, that is not confirmed by anything, so I just want to go ahead and once again reiterate the fact that, when I talk about any of that stuff, that is not any kind of confirmation. So we do not know. So don't take that out of context. But I will say that while, once again, the dragsters are really exciting, I love the vehicles like this. These vehicles, I think you can really tell that not only do people spend a lot of time on them, but they really put a lot of effort into making them feel like their own, especially with the window decals and stuff like that. And I think once we get more vehicles in this category, especially if we do at some point later on down the road get different engine options, different, sounds and builds, that's only going to deepen the connection with your own vehicle even more. So I am so excited to see where this game goes in the future, and I really do think that the next update is going to be a blast. But with all that being said and done, y'all, hope y'all enjoyed this video, and make sure, as usual, to leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. I try to read as many of them as I can, if not, of course, all of them. And once again, hope y'all enjoyed, and we'll see y'all next time. Oh, and if you want to stay as up to date on the No Limit updates as possible, make sure you turn those notifications on, and I'll see y'all next time.